Welcome to the Unspoken, where I speak from life experience, hopefully about things that have not been spoken about on YouTube, because what's the point in repeating everything 100,000 times? Nothing to me. Guys, I am Canadian. My parents were best friends with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghizlaine Maxwell. Best friends since I was a teenager. I'm now 53. Guys, there were thousands of people at each of Jeff's parties. He had an entire island. He didn't have 10, 20 people over. I would not have been invited to his island with 10, 20 people, guys. There was hundreds to thousands, guys. On Christmas, on New Year's. What are you kidding me? And not everybody there even knew what the hell was going on. I'm afraid America, left, right, center, whatever, you've all been made into Christian Puritans, whether you realize it or not. You've all become fixated on sexuality, destroying your economy, destroying how many lives. Over what? The fact that some dude gets horny? Guys, Jeffrey Epstein with $1 billion could have had women shipped over from Japan. He could have chopped them into sushi and eaten them. All he did was get 17-year-old girls, which is perfectly legal in almost every country of the world. And this is what you Americans have got to snap your little Christian minds out of. 17 is a baby. Are you kidding me? 17 is a baby. Nowhere else on earth is 17 a baby. And maybe that's why Americans are so immature. Because that's pretty sad, guys. Everywhere else, the legal age for sex is often 16, 17, sometimes 14. In Canada, it was 16 up until like the 90s or the early 2000s. Jeffrey Epstein started in my city because it was 16. So we got a lot of your perverts, a lot of your guys who like young girls. But guys, 17 does not make you a pedophile. Bad news. Even if you're 50, it makes you immature. It makes you narcissistic. Yeah. But is it rare? Guys, I get phone numbers that used to be owned by, prostitutes, whatever, girls online. And all day long I get hit up by men, who are looking for that girl who used to own the number. You think those men are not twice and three times the age of the girl putting out the ad? Like, what world do you live in? What world exactly do Americans live in? You don't see what a lot of older guys are into? And because Jeff, and here's something very important for you guys to understand, because Jeff is a billionaire, the minimum the dude's going to want is to be able to sleep with a prostitute without a condom. And that's why they look for 17-year-olds or virgins or 18. It's very common. Why? Because a girl who's 21, who's been in the sex industry or who's been sleeping around just with boys, is going to have a much greater chance of being with a sexually transmitted disease. You're not going to want to sleep with someone who's 21, 22 without a condom as a billionaire. If she's 17 years old, you're and especially if you've already asked her and she's claimed to be a virgin, well, then you can do it. No, I'm not defending the guy. I'm not saying the guy's like an angel. He should have been prosecuted because it's illegal in his country. And, he used coercion. However, to call him a monster, and even worse, to group everyone just because they were at his island into pedophile is fucking Christian immaturity on the level of QAnon and MAGA, Trump's coming back and being reinstated. It's all the same nonsense. Look at Brian Koberger. Kills 4 girls. That's a monster, boys. That's a fucking monster. All right? Guys who invade your own capital and beat your police, that's a monster. That's called anger and hatred. Compare that to sexuality, guys. You can't even compare. In America, because of Christian impairment on their own virginity. Guys, the bottom line is that you have a lot of adult virgins in America who are just making you guys unhappy by pointing out all the negativities about sexuality and almost none of the positives. First, they came for Jeff because he was into 17-year-old girls. Then they came for the gays, the transgenders, even abortion between two straight guys. Between two straight people, even a married couple. They want to stop the sex if there's not going to be a baby. This is obsessional sexual immaturity on a national level. And I'm going to tell you guys something that you're not going to want to hear if you're American. Other guys get laid a lot more than you. Americans, I've lived in the US. You guys get girlfriends young and you stay with them young. You don't have like, not a lot of you guys go through like 20 girls by the time you're 21. Just as a natural thing, not because you're trying, because you're not into this puritanism. We don't have a Christian influence. So we're never thinking about this is my wife. Like, you guys don't have it well. You have it wrong. And because of that, you're obsessed with sexuality. Still, like as if you're all 6 years old. I think what you're doing, guys, is you're projecting your own sexual immaturity onto everybody else. And ultimately, guys, it's not doing you any good. All I see is more and more young men in the US not having sex. All right? Not even enjoying their bodies or their pleasure at the best time. Just stop it with the Epstein. If you guys were really that curious or that insistent on knowing the Epstein story, you would have read his biography. All right? It was written. And in that biography, you would read about my grandparents and my parents and my uncle. And I'd be able to explain to you, this is the truth. Here is the truth, my friend. It's written down on paper, and here's a human being who lived through it. 53, not 22, sitting on YouTube making comments about something he doesn't even know about. But will you read the biography? No, you won't. Because what I've realized is that Christian immaturity, that puritanism, doesn't want to know the truth. It'd rather not know the truth. It'd rather live in a fantasy of good and evil. So be it. So be it, guys. But I know things about the island, which I'd love to tell you. If you show some maturity, maybe I'll tell you guys another video. But as it stands, you've got to grow up and experience your own sexual maturity before you can. And sexual maturity, guys, does not mean getting married. And this is what I think America does. You guys meet a girl, maybe your second girlfriend, you get married. That's not a man. That's not going to ever satisfy you and your sexual fixations. You're always going to be fixated. You've got to really sow your wild oats. And we do outside of US. Europe and Canada, it's like we're very sexually liberated. And you guys are just anally fucking repressed, man. And you've got to let it go because you've destroyed a lot of men. You've destroyed a lot of good companies. People don't want to work anymore because you can't even get laid at work anymore. It's compounding, and it's not doing your young men any good. They're not exactly sitting on top of the world. They're depressed. And why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be, guy?